Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good afternoon. First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips here. We are going to be keeping an eye to the cold and the snow. It doesn't seem like a lot has changed in the forecast, but we still have plenty to talk about here at the First Alert desk. So we are going to be talking about the latest snowfall that is coming across mid-Michigan. We're also going to be first alerting you to still the cold air that's kind of locked in. And we also are going to be highlighting how some of our schools are going to be handling maybe catching up on the amount of snow days that they've had. So we have had some of our folks working here across the newsroom to see what schools are facing. I know we've had some locations, maybe portions of the thumb, that have seen a few more snow days because of some lake effect. We've also had some schools like last Friday that were closed because of the cold. And so they may be kind of running up on that limit to where they may have to file for forgiveness, or we may find that they have to go a little bit deeper into the summer. So we had our very own James Felton. He was going and talking with some local school districts to see what they are facing right now and how things are shaping up, considering we do still have the month of February to get through with the cold and the snow. So we are going to take a look at his story here. So let's take a look.
Thank you, Chris. The cold and snow we've had this winter already draining the amount of snow days for school districts, especially in the thumb. TV5's James Felton joins us now. James, what happens when schools run out of snow days?
Once they pass 6 days, school districts can fill out an application with the state to have 3 additional snow days forgiven. After that, the school year gets longer.
You don't really keep track so much of how many you have or how many you don't have. You just make the best decision you can for student safety.
Cairo Community Schools Superintendent George Ryerson says when it comes to canceling school, it's not a close call when student safety is involved. Students in that district have had a 4-day weekend thanks to the weather. Ryerson tells us he's used 5 of the 6 allotted snow days.
The state allows 6 unscheduled days to be canceled, and then will forgive up to 3 additional days through an application process.
Get past that grand total of 9 and school days will cut into summer vacation.
That's happened before, and you have to make arrangements to add those days to the calendar.
Given that winter is still far from over in mid-Michigan, Ryerson isn't betting on having any snow days left by the time we make it to spring.
One thing that's complicated matters this year is the excessive cold days. So, we don't normally have days that fall below minus 20 wind chill, fortunately. But those days, we have already canceled school for one of those days. And this week looks, again, very, very cold.
Ryerson tells me classes were called today because of snow and drifting snow. He also says he thinks.
And we want to thank James for putting that story together. Of course, some of these schools are really going to be coming up close on some of those needs for waivers, and also on some of that forgiveness. Like they had said, they were kind of worried about running out of some of those snow days here. So we'll have to really see what the next couple of weeks bring. I know we have even cold air for this week, so of course they'll be monitoring those conditions. So for parents and families, there's going to still be a lot to watch here in the forecast. Now, what we're watching here today is some lake effect snow. Switching gears, you are going to be finding that we have those snow showers picking up here on our Harley-Davidson Vehicle City camera. So that has been a little bit snowy at times. Now we are finding that it's not nearly a heavy snow. I can still see well down the highway quite a ways. But the one thing is that the temperature is this cold, even a lighter snow can kind of make things a little bit slippery. I'm hoping that we have enough traffic here to kind of keep the roads warm enough to where they still just spray underneath the tire, kind of throw that water back at you. But if you aren't really seeing a lot of that spray when you're driving around on those roadways, just know that it could be icy underneath those tires. So just a little bit to kind of keep in mind is that these conditions can change ever so quickly. I know I had our Bertrand camera up earlier, and visibilities were really reduced on that when we had that thump of snow come through. And then just a few minutes later, I looked over and then it was nice and clean and crystal clear on the lens. So it's definitely a lot of variability because of the scattered coverage from our lake effect. When we look at our sky tracker, this is a state view. So you can see a lot of us here in the lower peninsula. We're tracking the snow. We're watching these snow showers roll through. Really into West Michigan and Northern Michigan. That's kind of the 2 pockets where we're really seeing that snow sourced in. but it is trying to build in a little bit closer towards the Cadillac area. So we are going to find that the snow is still strong enough to make it across the lower peninsula and bringing us some of those snow chances. So even as we go into the afternoon and still for a little bit this evening, we are going to continue to track that snow. Kind of zooming in here, we are finding that we do have a little bit of that better snow coverage. Coming across Roscommon, Ogama, Iosco counties, and then right here along I-69. I've been seeing a couple of spots here into Flint where we've been picking up on that snow. So around Shores Creek, we probably have that snow coming down currently, and even around Grand Blanc as well. So we are just going to continue to have this snow push through. So this is just going to be something that you want the First Alert Weather app for. If you are watching on something that isn't your phone, you can scan the QR code that I have right here. The app is free to download. You can get that on Google Play if you're an Android user, or on the Apple App Store you can get that. So that's a great tool to have here, because we will find that the lake effect is going to be around for a bit. When we look at the hour-by-hour forecast, we still have that blue showing up here. At times, it is hinting that we'll have some banding setting up. I haven't had that so far. The winds just haven't been really kind of strong enough for that. It's still been breezy today, but we are finding that the winds haven't been enough to kind of create those streaks and bands. Still, though, visibilities and some light accumulations are going to be the main concerns that we have from the snowfall coming through. And even by the time that we're headed after school, if it's your day to pick up the kids from school, you are going to be finding that still some of us are dealing with some snow showers. So we're going to keep these in play even through about the evening commute, but closer towards bedtime tonight with temperatures dropping, we do see that lake effect settling down. It's got to sleep at some point for how active it's been lately. But as we go into our Wednesday, we are going to find the cloud cover does build back in. Dry to start for the day, but we do have still some snow chances coming around. What's happening is we have high pressure that's starting to move in. So that rotates clockwise, and we are going to see that that can have still some of those wind directions that still allow for a couple of flurries to be coming off of the lake. So I'm going to be watching that throughout portions of the thumb for some of that northerly wind to set up, just with the placement of that high coming in a little bit towards our south. You can still be bringing in those winds kind of coming into where we can have eventually setting up a northeasterly wind. So we will be watching for some of that lake effect here just as that system comes through. Though high pressure doesn't usually bring us precipitation, with the Great Lakes wind direction and really just kind of how the geography is going to work, we could still see some snow here in mid-Michigan from that. You can still even see some lake effect trying to come in. And it isn't a large snow chance for Wednesday. I have it at 10% on the 7-day, but it is still worth mentioning that we just cannot get the snow to move out of the forecast. It's kind of like the cold. It's very stubborn. It will not leave mid-Michigan. I get this is a great place to be, but we are going to be finding that maybe a little bit of a more average temperature would be more welcomed by most people. As we go into Thursday morning, though, we'll still see some of that lake effect lingering around, but we're hoping to see our forecast remain a little bit on the drier side. So let's take a look at those snow totals. This is what we have left to pick up for today, so not a whole lot. But what I do want to point out is you can still see that we have some streaks, some bands that are going to be possible. So continuing picking up on kind of what we have, I would say a lighter dusting is expected, kind of trace amounts to be possible. If we really get some of those bands going, maybe up towards a ½ inch, you can see Flint, we're at that 0.4 there. So potentially at most an inch is what we could still pick up from some of these bands, but we still are going to have a couple of hours of those moving through, and with them being so short-lived and kind of very much spotted look, that's not going to add up to a lot as it does come through. So we are going to find that some of these numbers can vary a little bit. This is lake effect after all, but this is still going to be enough to where we're easily going to be able to get the car through it. We're not going to have to worry about kind of getting stuck in the snow, but it's still a lighter snow, can be slippery underneath those car tires. I do want to push this into Wednesday just because this is kind of picking up on a few more of those flurries. So we're not going to be seeing too much picked up on Wednesday with that small chance for some snow. We'd be watching mainly into the thumb for some banding, kind of being a little bit closer towards Lake Huron. But overall, we're still kind of keeping those amounts, considering Tuesday and Wednesday amounts are in there, still about an inch or less to be expected. So overall, this is going to be a manageable snow. This is kind of the standard here for how cold it's been and for how much winter weather that we have had lately, but we do still have more cold air on the way. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have a look at those future feels like temperatures, and we're also going to be making sure that you have a preview of the weekend forecast. So stay tuned. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. Welcome back. We still have that cold air in place. I know I've been layering up. Colette and I were talking during our noon newscast that we're maybe just a little bit tired of the cold, and I'm sure some of us are really enjoying the colder weather. But we are going to be finding that today is no exception. Air temperatures are currently sitting around the teens, mainly mid-teens is what we have here. We are up to 18 though in Lapeer. We have 16 for Saginaw and Caro. Same for Oscoda. We're at 14 in Tawas, 13 in Gladwin. And we're also at 13 in Flint. We have 18 in Mount Pleasant and 12 in Alma. So these temperatures are just going to kind of hover here. This is pretty comparable to what we had yesterday. So there's not a whole lot of changes when we look at the temperatures. It's just simply cold outside. Now, we are going to be finding that those feels like temperatures, those are still sitting right around zero. Checking on a few more negatives here for the afternoon. It currently feels like 5 below in Marlette, 6 below in Gladwin and Houghton Lake. It feels like -4 now in Standish and in Alma. We're right at 0 in Saginaw, and it feels like 4 below in Flint. So as I mentioned, a lot of negatives kind of showing up. We do have some communities that are just holding on to the positives. So even when you check that car thermometer and it says the teens, just know it feels a lot chillier than that. These numbers kind of where we were hanging out yesterday, maybe just a touch cooler, but we are going to just continue to monitor for any cold weather advisories if those are needed. So far, we haven't seen any of those come in from the National Weather Service, so we are just going to kind of hold tight that that cold air is going to be here. When we look at some of our future feels like temperatures, though, we're just going to kind of continue to talk about the negatives, negative numbers, that is, trying to stay on a lighter note for how cold it is, but we are going to see that a lot of us will be below zero still here for the afternoon and going into the evening. If you do have some plans that have you coming home a little bit later, you can see closer towards 9 o'clock that we do start to see our readings closer to about -10, -15. So that's where we spend much of the night. So if you do have a wood burner, you're going to want to put extra wood in it before bed because that's probably going to be working overtime. Also, that furnace is probably going to be clicking on quite a bit, but we still see that those wind chills tomorrow morning out the door around 10 to 15 degrees below zero. I still anticipate that a lot of our schools will be on time when we look at these numbers. I know a lot of them still went today, and we had very much comparable conditions. So still just make sure that the kids are bundled up at the bus stops. If anybody's out for longer periods of time, you just want to make sure all that exposed skin is covered. At least that frostbite potential is over that 30-minute mark, but still, you just want to be comfortable. So we just recommend layering up to kind of beat out the cold. We will see around 5 o'clock that we are trying to get closer towards zero. A lot of those feels like temperatures hanging around zero, getting a little bit closer towards about 5 below. And then as we go into the evening, we're still going to be seeing some colder air. Even by Thursday morning, we are going to kind of run these temperatures back out, seeing anywhere from about -5 to -15. So it's going to kind of be a little bit copy and paste here. It's going to be cold, not seeing too much of a break here in the forecast, but we are just going to find that not only are we lagging at night with those temperatures falling, but still in the afternoon we're falling behind. We are going to see those temperatures into the teens for highs this week. Now, though it is cold, the good news is that we do have Snowfest going on in Frankenmuth. So happy to see a chillier forecast. It's great for the snow sculptors. I'll actually pull up our camera that we have there. You can see that some of them are already working. They're around the Zenders parking lot. So not all of the blocks getting all that full attention just yet, but there's been some sculptors that are already getting down to business here to get the competition going. So should be some good weather. You can see though that tent that they have, that breeze trying to pick up a little bit of that tent. So just be mindful that the breeze is going to be a factor, adding that extra chill to the air. But we are happy to see overall a good forecast for folks who are going to be going to Snowfest here during the week or into the weekend. Now, also happening tonight, this is always a fun one. You're going to have to dress warm for it, but the International Space Station will be flying over at 7:01 p.m. tonight. I do have, to help you out to kind of remember, I do have a push alert scheduled to go out on the First Alert Weather app. So that's going to be kind of your 10-minute reminder that this is going to be happening. So if you just want to set maybe an alarm to kind of remind you, hey, I got to get outside to see it. It is going to be visible for 5 minutes. You'll want to keep your eyes peeled towards the west-northwest, and then it will disappear in the east-southeast. So that's going to be the path that it runs. It's going to be cold while you are out there. Feels like temperatures, actually this is bumped ahead, so let me get us back to the 7 o'clock time frame. Feels like temperatures still in the negatives. We may start to get a little bit closer towards -10, so you are going to want to make sure that you're dressed warm and kind of bundled up for this one. It's always fun to see, but we are going to hope that it's maybe a little bit warmer. It's a little more fun to see outside when it's not nearly as chilly. The one thing that I do want to point out on the cloud cover is that we will start to, going into the evening, seeing some of those clouds dissipate and break apart. I can't guarantee that it's going to be clear for everybody though, so that's kind of the caveat, is that still some lingering cloud cover can be left over for some space station viewers. So here at 7 o'clock you can kind of see mainly north, some of those lake effect cloud bands are still trying to be painted across mid-Michigan. So you may find that some locations do have better chances for spotting compared to others. So it's at least a chance, but we are hoping to see those conditions to be a little bit better. Another quick update on the ice. We do have these updates going out to the First Alert weather app at 10 o'clock in the morning each day. So if you are looking to get out on the water, you are going to be finding that we do have some fast ice out into the bay, so be very cautious of that. We are going to see that it's a little bit better into the outer bay, but still always be cautious. I know we've had quite a few people on the Saginaw River and then even throughout parts of Bay City, kind of watching that. Those ice shanties are there, so we've had a lot of good ice growth here this year. So far, our total coverage is up to about 41.3%. Last year, we were only at 17%. At this point. So I do remember though last year we did have some good ice fishing time, so this looks like this year also still seeing some pretty good conditions, but we don't have the Great Lakes entirely froze over. Lake Erie is a little bit more shallow, so that's why we are able to get that one frozen over, but you can see Lake Michigan, we're not there yet, so because we still have wide open water, we are going to continue to see that lake effect be in the forecast. And actually, speaking of those ice shanties, we'll see if I can pull up our one camera here that should have them. Yes, this is always kind of a fun view. Here we are in Bay City, and it looks like we have our folks that are out ice fishing, or at least their shanties are there waiting for them. So it's kind of glad to have those. It kind of keeps us a little bit more comfortable, kind of block out that wind. So it's always kind of fun to see how many that we have in a day along the river. So still just be cautious. Make sure you're checking that ice thickness before you head out, because we don't want anybody to have a horrible experience while they're out there. I'm going to pull up that 7-day First Alert forecast here, and you are going to be finding that it's still cold, so we're going to continue to make some ice. Highs are going to remain into the teens. They drop back a little bit more going into Thursday and Friday. We'll just be into the double digits, and for the weekend, it is still going to be cold, so we will have finally some 20s coming in by Sunday and Monday, but even overnight temperatures remain into the single digits. The coldest night that I have here is going to be Thursday night when I have a low, this is the air temperature, a low of -6. So it's definitely going to be the coldest night here of the week, arriving on Thursday night. Good news is that we are going to, though we have still the mention of a few flurries, overall see the forecast drying out. Partly cloudy skies expected. I'm hoping to see some of that winter sunshine come through. That'll be wonderful for folks wanting to maybe get out and bundle up and maybe just kind of break up that cabin fever a little bit. I definitely know those winter blues are settling in at this point into January. So we are going to continue to track that cold air, but at least we do have some sunshine to get everybody a little bit excited, get those positive vibes going into the weekend. That is all, though, that we had prepared for you today. We will be back at 4 o'clock on TV5. We'll be covering the latest headlines from this afternoon. I'll be looking at an updated 7-day by then. And then also tonight at 9 o'clock, First Alert Chief Meteorologist Chris Eastlake will be in. He'll be updating you on radar and some of those snow shower chances that we have. So make sure you tune in tonight at 9 and hang out with him. But I thank you so much for hanging out with myself here this afternoon. And we look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.